O'Connell, it's yours.
Thank you, Jenner. This is Tim O'Connell. I'm chair of the Utility Board. Pursuant to the ongoing proclamations, et cetera, we're holding this meeting by Zoom. We currently are without a quorum. Present from the board is member Steve Milton and member Vice Chair Brian Thomas. We're going to see if we can locate at least one other member of the board to accomplish a quorum. In the meantime, I'm going to therefore use my discretion and vary the order of the agenda. Well, I guess on the agenda is public appearances. Is there anyone on the Zoom platform who wishes to make a public appearance?
There's no one for public appearance this evening.
Thank you. We're going to skip the approval of the minutes and move on to the report from ecology about the comprehensive garbage, recycles, and compostables. So I'll defer to whoever from either from the department or ecology is going to be taking the lead in that.
Thank you very much for your time here tonight. We appreciate it. My name is Katora Brumfield. I'm with Recology King County. I'm the general manager. And also with me tonight is Quinn Apuzzo and Logan Harvey. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Quinn to get us started.
Great. Thanks, Katura. Let me just tee this up here. Right. Let's see. Share. All right, is that in correct presentation mode? No. Okay, you can, okay, hold on one moment. Let's see here, for some reason. All right, you'd think we'd all be experts at this by this point. Let's see here. Sorry, bear with me for just a minute.
I think the right incantations change with every version update.
Right?
Well, don't worry about it. We'll just blame Jason if we continue to have a problem.
All right, I like that. I think that's a great solution. Why isn't this? Here we go. All right. How's that looking?
Great.
Good. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Katura, and thank you, Jason, and members of the Utility Board for having us here this evening. My name is Quinn Apuzzo. I'm the Government and Community Relations Manager for Recology, and we're thrilled to have the opportunity to share a little bit about what we've been up to over the past year with you. So we will jump right into it. All right, there we go. Did that progress? Great. All right, so Katura already kind of covered some of our introductions, but we have some new faces here for you. So I just wanted to highlight that as you know, Katura introduced me, but now I'm going to reintroduce her. So Katura is our very experienced new general manager at Recology King County. We're thrilled to have her on board. She's been with the company for over 5 years, but has extensive industry experience. And so she is leading our team these days, and it's been a great transition. And then I also wanted to highlight Logan is our new Waste Zero manager. So Logan oversees all our public education and outreach programs that we provide to Mercer Island residents. He comes to us from actually Recology Sonoma Marin in California. So tons of experience working with communities, helping them meet their sustainability goals. And he's been up and running in Mercer Island for about the past 6 months. So in terms of the agenda, we can check introductions off the list. Today, we're going to cover, really, it's a year in review. We're going to talk to you about our key performance indicators, share a bit about how our operations has been going, talk about customer service, waste diversion, and then we'll talk to you a little bit about your 2022 rate adjustment, and then share a little bit about some upcoming events and things to take note of. And then we'll open it up for question and answer at the end. But if you have questions along the way, please feel free to stop me at any point. Okay, so I'm guessing most of you are familiar with Recology services, but for anyone watching from home who is not, a quick introduction as to who we are and what we do. So Recology is a 100% employee-owned resource recovery company. We like to think we're a little different than the standard garbage company in that we're heavily invested in recycling and composting infrastructure. Of course, we come into your house, we pick up your garbage, recycling, and compost, but really where our emphasis, where our investment and our focus is, and how do we keep waste out of the landfill. So here in Mercer Island, we provide that curbside recycling, garbage, and compost service to just over 6,000 residents and over 500 commercial and multifamily properties. In addition to providing that weekly or however frequent collection service to your home or business, we also provide we also operate a recycling facility. In the industry is known as a material recovery facility. And that's where all of the recyclables that are collected at your home or your business, that's where they go. That's their next stop in the recycling supply chain. They're sorted out into their material categories before they're then sent to end markets to be remanufactured into new products. In addition to the MRF, the recycling facility, we also provide fairly extensive public education and outreach programs designed to engage residents and businesses in recycling programs and services, make sure they know how to participate in these programs, to take maximum advantage of the robust recycling programs that Mercer Island offers its community. And one great example of that is the Recology store location, actually located over in Issaquah, but this is a benefit and a resource for Mercer Island, the Mercer Island community, in that they can folks can not only go there to shop for products and goods and gifts that are made from recycled materials or specifically chosen as items that will help displace landfill waste. So things like reusable water bottles or reusable bags or bikes made out of recycled bike parts. But the supplemental benefit to the store is they really function as drop-off recycling depots for a list of about 10 different hard to recycle materials. So things like e-waste, electronics, or styrofoam, textiles, CFL tubes and bulbs, all can be responsibly recycled when Mercer Island residents bring them to the retail store, and we'll take it from there. So that's a little background on who we are and what we do. And I'm going to turn it over to Keturah to talk about our operations and customer service.
All right, thank you, Quinn. So some key performance indicators that we track, the main one, which is an industry standard, is misses per 1,000 customers collected. So contractual thresholds usually reside at 1 miss or less per 1,000 customers that are collected. And we are happy to report in 2021, our average miss rate was 0.13 misses per 1,000. While obviously our goal is to collect every customer without a miss, as we look into 2022, our objective will be to beat that goal year over year and exceed that 0.13 miss. All right, so some other statistics that we're going to share with you today are some customer service KPIs. So as we've navigated the last couple of years with COVID, we definitely acknowledge that we've had some challenges that we're definitely seeking to overcome and placing a focus on, as we know various other businesses in our communities and across the nation are as well. So we have experienced turnover in a changing economic market, and with that turnover, also training challenges, especially with bringing on new employees and coaching and training the current employees that we have up to standards. In addition, in early 2021, we did experience a ransomware attack with our third-party billing vendor. Fortunately, Recology customer data was not breached, but with that, we did have to seek out a new vendor and implement that so that we have billing and online account access as well as bill pay for our customers. And we've had that up and running for the last few months, but we're still working through coaching customers and getting them used to that new payment portal system. All right, so our action plan moving forward, really customer service is our focus because we acknowledge the challenges that have come our way over the past couple of years. And we're looking to—
Oh, Katura, sorry to interrupt you. We've got a question here. Council member, did you want to?
Yeah, hi. I was going back to the last slide. I see that you have an option for text contact, but is that live or is it anticipated? And honestly, do you have metrics in terms of how many of these customer emails and calls you responded to? Because, and I have to say, you guys were not the leadership group, so this is not a criticism of you personally in any way, but we have had a lot of constituent complaints about unresponsiveness. I personally have called and left 3 messages during business hours for Recology during the last year and have never gotten a return call. So I'd be really interested in you talking to that, whether you acknowledge that, have done any corrective action on it. It's hard for us to answer for you when we don't have that kind of information.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have texting options, although I would have to say, to address that first, it's not a popular one with customer base. So if it's, if it's available to them, if they'd like to use it, but really customers prefer, online contact through web forms or through phone calls. So that is available if they'd like to use it, and definitely acknowledge the challenges that we've had over this past year and customers being able to reach us. And that is a part of our action plan that we're moving forward with improving our leadership team. One, building a team that's on board with our excellence in customer service that we're striving for as a company, as our mission and vision, as well as a new leader staffing with that leadership team. So we were unfortunately solely understaffed this past year and a half, and I've been working with the team closely to improve staffing by over 40%. So we've brought a lot of new team members on board. We do have metrics that we can share in month-over-month reports on what we have responded to. Obviously, I think our email, inbound email kind of shows some of that difficulty with customers being able to get through phone calls, and then they resort to email correspondence. So those numbers kind of share those challenges that we had over the past few months with being able to reach customers. Moving forward, the last few weeks, I've personally spent my time with direct oversight of this team. We are building out this team. We brought a new customer service manager on board. She started with us just 6 weeks ago. We've also brought on a customer service supervisor, and that position was previously not filled. So that was an internal promotion that we're very excited about, because it's somebody who has a lot of internal knowledge and industry knowledge to support that team and help onboard our new customer service manager. Like I said, we've increased just customer service representatives by 40%. It's currently the largest customer service team that Recology has had to date. But with that, of course, are opportunities for us to improve with our training. So with those new employees, we really have to onboard them and get them, get them to learn all of the industry specifics that they need to know to assist our customers when they call in, and Mercer Island customers specific to the services that we provide in that city. So we're streamlining all of our documents. We've created a manual for our representatives to learn from, to be able to use as a direct resource, to be efficient and effective on the phone with customers. And we've also reinstituted training programs in the field as well as in office. So there's obviously a lot of safety protocols that we're ensuring take place to protect people with the current environment we're in. But we found that they're more efficient and the training is more thorough when they're in person, and especially in the field. These representatives need to understand what it is that our drivers do and the type of service they provide to our customers. So it's really important for them to see the equipment, to see the carts, to see those sizes, to see the type of service that the customers are receiving, and also have that in-house training so we can really have strong representatives that can help our customers effectively. Something else that we've also been working on is IT enhancements to help with that. So in Q4, we implemented a new phone system called Talk Desk. This provides enhanced features for customer and workforce engagement. We've also updated our CRM software for improved performance and reporting. So these are high level items that I personally am going to see through until our performance improves. And it is, improving month over month, and that's our objective. And we're going to continue to recruit and train until we get to that excellence and standard that we hold ourselves accountable to.
Great. Thanks, Katura. Yeah, and I will just say that the level of investment, or I should say the level of awareness around the fact that we're falling short on our customer service expectations is high and has reached all senior levels of the company. And the level of investment to fix those problems. I've been with the organization for 12 years, and I have never seen this level of investment in fixing our customer service in direct response to the feedback we're hearing from the communities we serve. So we hear you, we're working on it, we're spending money to fix the problem, we're hiring new people who have a skill set that meets our needs, and we're really looking forward to coming back next year and sharing some dramatic customer service metrics that will show dramatic improvement. All right.
Great. Thank you for that. We look forward to it.
Absolutely. And with that, I will turn it over to Logan if you're.
Great. Yeah, we're just coming back from an event we did in Seattle. So the traffic caught up with us a little bit, but hopefully you can hear me through the mask. Very happy to be with the board. So waste diversion is something that's really near and dear to my heart as the Waste Hero manager. My team's goal is to get out into the community and to educate on how businesses, residents, and multifamily units can better separate their waste and divert material out of landfill. This both meets climate goals and reduces emissions, but also can save residents and businesses money, as recycling is a free service that we offer. Looking at Mercer Island's diversion rate for the past year, it was at 58%, which is pretty high. It's, I believe it's the best in King County, a fantastic diversion rate in Mercer Island. And something that there's still room to improve, especially around multifamily and commercial. There are a few locations that don't have recycling services, so we'll be working over the next year to up that and get them engaged with it, and improve our engagement around composting as well to try to continue improving this number. But still, where we are at 58%, really great job by Mercer Island residents. On to the next slide. Our team does a lot of engagement and try to do outreach as much as possible as we can throughout the city. These are the engagements that we did over the last year. I joined the team in June, and most of our team is fresh and new and hungry to get into the field. So we've done a number of technical assistances where we'll go into a multifamily property, provide signage and education to the property manager and to residents, answer questions about that. And we've also attended little events like your farmers market and things like that. It's always wonderful for us to get out into Mercer Island and engage with the community. Looking forward to next year, we'll be reopening and reinstating our MRF tours, or our materials recovery facility tours, which are a great way for community members and community leaders to come out and really see the why of recycling. A lot of people have questions around why can't they use plastic bags, or why can't a small item go into a recycling building. And when you go and see the scope of what we do and the commitment of our employees, you really understand that, and would love to invite the board to come out and visit our MRF. I'm sure you've been there before, but it's always good to get a refresher. Yeah. Next slide. I think that's what we've got there. Thank you.
Thanks, Logan. And thanks for jumping on while you're in transit. One thing I do want to mention is that during this COVID period, we did shut down our retail store locations. We're really excited to announce the reopening of the Ithaca location, which is the most convenient site for Mercer Island residents. That has been open for the past couple of weeks. We've already seen a return of Mercer Island residents coming into shop, but also drop off their hard to recycle items. So we're just really excited to have that resource back available to the community. And then let's see here. So 2022, looking forward, we're all hopeful for a 2022 that brings all sorts of good things. One thing that 2022 always brings for us is new rates. Part of our contract agreement between Recology and the city of Mercer Island is an annual rate increase adjustment. So we just like to highlight that here so you're aware of it. The contract does outline a formula that we recalculate the rates every year. That formula does include it factors in the consumer price index as well as King County tip fee changes, increases. So this is really just factoring in the cost of tipping our waste at the landfill. And yes, council member, you have a question.
Yeah, sorry to be jumping in all the time,
No,
but
it's fine.
don't want to lose sight of it. I mean, these rate increases are not surprising to me. I just was curious about why the 32-gallon cart on a monthly basis would be the one that goes down and everybody else goes up. I'm sure you're aware that that's an anomaly, and I'm just interested to know what kind of costs drive that result.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So the rates, so your garbage rate is an embedded rate, which means it includes the cost of your garbage service, but also the cost of recycling is embedded within that rate. So you as a resident, you don't get charged for recycling. You pay one rate and you receive garbage and recycling service for that one bundled rate. Monthly, so if you're a resident who signs up for 32-gallon garbage service on a monthly basis, that means you get one pickup every 4 weeks. You still get your recycling picked up every other week. And so you're getting, compared to if you were paying for the weekly service, your recycling would be on that same schedule. So you are getting, so while the fees that have gone up the most are the consumer price index, and really the tip fee went up quite a bit this year. So the cost of disposing of the garbage in the landfill, that increased by about just over 9% this year. So the third component of your fee increase every year, it's the consumer price index, the landfill tip fee, and then there's also a recycling rate adjustment. And this year, the recycling commodity adjustment. So this really takes into account that there's value in the recyclables that we collect, and we can sell those at a revenue point. And this year, it was actually in residents' favor. So the value of recyclables helped keep the cost down for in the way that they're calculated in the rates. So when you have less garbage, but you're still recycling a lot, the cost of providing that service is less. Does that make sense?
Completely. Yeah, I was just going to say it the same way. So less garbage, more recyclables. You get a break because the recyclables are worth something, and yet you only have to come pick up the garbage once a month, and you only have to pay a tip fee once a month.
Exactly. Yep, yeah. You got it.
Perfect.
Twice the recycling for the same garbage. I get it.
Yes, exactly. This is so for those households that are producing a really small amount of waste and doing their best to recycle as much as they can. This is a really cost-effective, really environmentally effective program to partake in, and that's a great option that's available for all Mercer Island residents.
Do you have any info on how many of your customers on the island actually avail themselves of that?
That's a great question. I can follow up with you with that specific number. I don't know it off the top of my head.
That'd be great. I'd be interested in that, because it might be something we really want to encourage for people who have small households, and it can be really friendly from a budget standpoint too.
Absolutely. Yes, I will follow up with that.
If I may,
What we're talking about while we're taking questions, I just sat here with the calculator. The percentage increases are different for the three sizes of garbage, and why would that be? One's like 3.3 and it goes up to 3.9.
So there are assumptions baked into the rate of the average container weight. And so those are when the rates are initially set, those assumptions are baked into the individual service levels, and then they on an annual basis they are increased by whatever percentage the formula calculates. I'd probably defer to Jason you could take a look at the spreadsheets that we sent over that show the specific math, but some containers are actually heavier than others, and it's not a direct proportion to the gallon size of the container, if that makes sense.
The other thing I'll say too, this is Jason, Chief of Operations. So the majority of the Mercer Island residential collection is a 32-gallon cart weekly size. So the second line there on the left table, that's the majority of the residential collection. I think the other piece to really drive home here is, of the three components that make up the rate, the unique piece to the Mercer Island contract this utility board was part of in the inception of this contract was the commodity adjustment mechanism, which has its own table and worksheet, calculation sheet associated to it. But it's important that those recyclables actually, that commodity price actually drove down our rate increase. So if you look at our rate increase compared to other jurisdictions, they've seen higher rate increases than we have because we have that commodity adjustment mechanism that actually is buying down some of those rate increases. The tipping fee and the CPI definitely went up this last year, and our recycling market is what's helping keep these. It's still a rate increase, but on a more reasonable level.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions on rates? Okay. The one thing I just wanted to conclude with on that is that all residents should have received a service guide that was either mailed to your home or your business that provides this information in detail, which is also mirrored on our website. All right, so last but not least, I wanted to touch quickly on what's coming up. What are we focused on? So obviously the holidays are right around the corner, and we wanted to use this as an opportunity to share with you and ask that you remind your neighbors and friends that, that holiday trees can be composted following the holiday season. Please set those out next to your curbside collection bins on your pickup day. Please make sure that the holiday trees are less than 6 feet, unflocked, untinseled, undecorated, and we will collect those at no additional charge for residents. This is, I guess, a fairly new program as of the contract, so we're still working on getting the word out there, making sure that folks know that this is a benefit to them or a new service that they're available to. Yes.
And how long will that continue after the holidays?
It is, let's see, through the month of January, we'll be collecting those trees, but we encourage residents to set them out during the first 2 collection cycles on their yard waste pickup day.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then, although I feel like we never quite know what the weather forecast holds for us, the past couple of years have definitely taught us some lessons in terms of preparing for any and all types of inclement weather. So we have been meeting internally and getting our operation prepared to respond in case of inclement weather, snowy weather event. Again, looking for your help and support, and just reminding residents and businesses that when it begins to snow, if there's concern or question about if garbage collection is happening, the best and most up-to-date information will always be available on our website. Should there be any immediate impact or prolonged impact to collection schedules, phone calls, automated phone calls will go out to all residents, notifying them of what that revised schedule may look like. But again, the best information will be available on our website, and we will be sure to communicate that as early as possible, and are always in great communication with your wonderful staff at the Public Works Department. And with that, we'll open it up for questions if there are any more.
Thank you. This is Lisa. I think I got all mine in.
All righty. Well,
Any other board member have any questions for the Recology folks?
All right, I lied. I didn't get them all in.
You're not shy, Lisa, so go for it.
I don't know how often you guys plan to report to us, but is there any way that you can communicate with Jason and then he can pass it out to us maybe after the first quarter of next year in terms of customer service and stuff, so that we're not kind of going a whole year waiting, and let's just kind of track a trajectory of, you know, maintenance or decline or improvement, hopefully improvement.
Absolutely.
That would be great. I think it'd be good for council and city staff to have, you know, kind of current real-time information without that obligation being too burdensome for you guys.
So, Councilmember Randall, if I may, just so everyone's aware, we meet for the most part on a monthly or every other month basis with this Recology team internally. They actually send us a monthly report with the data and statistics that I'm happy to share with the board and the council along the way. It's up until this point, it's been it's a lot of information. It's quite a spread, but I'm happy to share it. We can probably work with Quinn and Katura to actually maybe pare it down and maybe just focus on the customer service stuff that we can send. Just because you are right, there has been a significant uptick, and Recology is very aware of that. So I think you're seeing that tonight in terms of the response. And so we are hoping for a better 2022. And it's something that we can certainly share. And they have been providing that information, but we can slim it down a little bit so you don't have all the extra stuff along with it, unless you really want to dive into the monthly solid waste recycling and compostable collection data from Recology.
You know, I'm in favor of the executive summary for sure, but I think that's great. And I mean, obviously Mercer Islanders care a lot about the environment and sustainability, and they care about how much they're recycling and all that other stuff, but they mostly care about getting return phone calls and getting picked up on time. And that's the only thing we hear about.
I'll also just add to it as well, since we have a new customer service team within the city that started out of the pandemic. That customer service team has a direct line to Quinn and her team as well. So if calls do come into the city, we are quickly getting them partnered with Recology to respond to as quickly as possible. So we have definitely improved the customer service response. It's still never fun to get that many phone calls and emails, and our community does like to call. We don't like to text. They definitely like to call. So that said, we'll continue to work with Recology on that. We're happy to share that information with the council and the board.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for the Recology
I
personnel?
think Brian had his hand up.
Oh, there we go. Brian, yes, sir.
Well, council member Andrew got 3 questions, so I get at least 1 out of that deal.
Open forum.
I think it would be helpful. I don't know if Recology has a view on this, but I would imagine going into 2022 with a tight economy, what's happening with sort of supply chain and all those kinds of issues, and the economy that's really heating up. I would imagine that the recycling adjustment mechanism, or whatever the term is that's used as part of the offset for rates, will continue to subsidize and perhaps contribute even more going into 2022 and years beyond, because recyclables are increasing in value. I don't know if Recology has a prediction on what's going to happen, but I just think that's good news in the rate adjustments that were reflected in your presentation, and I would hope that things would continue to improve in a way that would help offset potential rate increases for consumers going forward. So if you have any thoughts, share them. If not, that's fine.
Well, we work really closely with our sales team, and things are definitely looking good. There's been some fluctuations just recently, not in our favor, but over the course of the year, we believe we'll continue to sustain what we're seeing. I don't have a crystal ball, but we definitely hope for the same, that it continues to improve. Like Quinn said earlier, we've invested a lot of our infrastructure in recycling and composting. So that's definitely something that we're looking for in the future as well.
I also
Member Milton.
had a quick question. Actually, while we were chatting, I tried to send a text message into the listed phone number, because I actually have a dishwasher that needs to get picked up, but it did actually, it bounced back saying that it's the wrong number or not available for text messages. And I didn't see anywhere else on the page that mentioned a text number that was different than the main Mercer Island number. So maybe worth double checking the documentation on the site on the text thing. That may be the reason why there's 0 as opposed to a low number.
Definitely.
Well-
We'll look at that.
Yeah, it's a separate number. It's not the standard
Okay.
customer service number, but we'll make sure we'll share that with Jason and verify that is and it's listed on your service guide, but
Oh, I see. Okay, it's just not on the web page.
it should be. But we will double check that and confirm that that's available and accessible in an obvious location. Yeah.
And I have my service guide. I'll go double check that as well, or to pull it from there directly. So it's not a really good question, but it's a question.
Anyone else? Seeing none, on behalf of the board, I will very much express our appreciation to the personnel from Recology for coming in for us. We look forward to these presentations, and we'll look forward to further information. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you
good.
very much. Appreciate being with you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, George has joined us, and so we now have a quorum. So I'm going to return to the regular business on our agenda. We actually have to take a couple of votes. And my understanding of the rules is we have to do these one at a time. The minutes for the October and November meetings were included with the agenda packet. Can I get a motion to approve the October 12th meeting minutes? Heard a motion from Member Milton. Was there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, George. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We all voted already, so that's approved. Can I get a motion to approve the November 17 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Moved again. George, you want a second again?
I'll second it.
Very good. Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I will use chair's discretion to give just a short report in response, particularly to the approval of the November 17 minutes. I'll report to the board that I represented the board in front of the council when was that, Lisa? Last week or the week before? Where we, the council voted on rate increases for utility functions.
Yeah, it was just December 7th, I think.
Yeah, so just last week. It was last week. Days are running together. So yeah, I represented the board to the council. The council had a vigorous discussion about the issues and did approve the rate increases as recommended by this board. So I just wanted to give you that feedback. There were a number of questions actually reflecting the kind of things come together, and when we talk about the work plan, there were a couple of questions coming from the council that talking about items that are in our work plan. Speaking of which, having approved the minutes, talking about the 2022 draft utility board work plan is the next item on the agenda. So Chief Kinder, I'll turn it over to you. Do you want to talk to us about what it is you're anticipating we'll be doing?
Thank you, Chair O'Connell. So in the utility board packet is the proposed 2022 work plan. As you will see, I've spaced the meetings out a little bit. Full disclosure, we've had a lot of evening meetings this past year, a lot. I think Councilman Randall can attest to that as well. So I tried to be strategic about our meeting schedules, timing, and what's on the topic for discussion. We can certainly always add a special meeting along the way if something needs the board's recommendation on or needs to be vetted with the board. But as you can see, we have a January recess. We have a December meeting now, and so give us a little time to get a couple projects ready for the utility board discussion. You will see in February, we have the meter replacement contract recommendation in front of you. We are nearing the end of, I think we're on our final lanes here, the final version of the contract. We are almost to terms with our meter installer vendor. So that is great news. So we'll be in front of the board in February for a recommendation that will go to the council, looking to begin construction next year. The board will recall that we have talked about funding that project through our debt financing. Matt, Lawan, and I actually met with a specialist last week to talk about it, and we are still looking at this project as a possibility. So that will likely be in front of the board next year for discussion and recommendation. Tied to that February meeting will be the utility ARPA project update. Outside of the utility board process, the city is receiving ARPA funds that can be used for utility projects. Earlier this fall, I presented a number of projects to the council that were recommended to be accelerated to get construction ready. And so those projects are working through a scoping process right now to get a design engineer on board. And we will likely be in front of the council probably end of February, early March to seek an appropriation to get those projects designed and construction ready. So that'll be a good opportunity to brief the board on what projects were recommended to be accelerated or possibly accelerated, and give you an update on timing for those projects and how they may or may not align with the overall city's capital program. Whether or not it's going to be a specific project falls outside of that capital program process, and then use possible funding sources for those projects, including ARPA, debt financing, or just through the rates. So that'll be a good discussion.
Yeah. Jason, can I stop you for a second? Is the assumption that these ARPA funded projects would be new, or are they projects that were already in our capital plan? I mean, because I know we have a capital plan that goes out several years.
Good question. It is a combination of both. So we have a couple new projects like the pump replacement project at the reservoir. We had pumps that failed unexpectedly. They were on a replacement cycle, so that's a new project. We also have projects that were on our capital program list that we're recommending to accelerate. We've talked about the relining of the reservoir tanks. That's a project that just an example of the one that we're recommending acceleration of. So a combination of both across the water and the sewer utilities. So then we'll plan on taking a recess in March. We'll meet again in April. We will be we'll be very close to having the SCADA project on the sewer side of the house out to bid or bids received at that point in time. And then I think it's also a good opportunity to check in regarding the King County Sewer Interceptor project. We've talked about that over the years. They are moving into the construction phase. That will be a multi-year phase construction project that will be impactful to our community. So I think it's good timing to update the board. In May, we have the board elections and then sustainability utilities work plan. Ross has begun the climate action plan process. And so there'll be a good tie-in with sustainability components in May. And then in July, we have, I think July is a really interesting meeting. It'll be a combination of a daytime meeting, and then we'll conclude in the evening. The daytime will include field visits out to actually see some capital projects. And we will probably take the board to a few locations that have the 2023-2024 utility CIP projects in mind as well. So I think it'll be a sort of a good teaser for the evening discussion that night in July. When we get into the fall, September, October, that's going to be our rate discussions for the stormwater, EMS, water, and sewer. November, we will plan on taking a recess. And then in December, we will develop the 2023 work plan. We'll begin working on the water system plan update. We update that water system plan every 6 years. And so that'll be ready for the board to discuss in December. And then Recology will be back again to do their annual rate and work plan discussion with the board as well. So that's what we have in store for 2022. Again, I've got some recesses built in there just to sort of space that a little bit. maybe give everyone a little bit more breathing time in between evening meeting commitments. But I think there's some really good topics and some pointed topics and conversations to have with the board next year. Next year is going to be a big year.
And Jason, I'll go ahead and start off the discussion. I will observe that this year, when we reviewed the rates, we were not able really to give as much in-depth review of that as we have in years past. Now, I mean, at a certain level, it was less troubling than it might have been, largely because this is the mid-biennium and there weren't really substantial changes being contemplated. But I just like, particularly sitting here now and we're several months out, I really would like to start the discussion that I make sure we have built into the work plan enough time to have kind of a deeper dive than we did this year into the financial analysis that goes into the rates.
Okay, understood. I think it's, as you'll recall, the rates are built around the operating and the capital budget. And so you will see some of that in July already. That'll be the capital component of it will be a big piece of it. But we can certainly work some more additional time. I agree this year was very, very compressed and the board deserves a larger runway to discuss the rates, especially with some of the big capital costs and operating costs that are on the horizon.
Well, yeah, and particularly because I think this next budget cycle will be the one where we start seeing the impact of some of the decisions about bonding some of these projects. So I do think we'll need to set aside sufficient time to really kind of review those things and do the diligence that the council asks of us.
I think this year it was a single meeting, right, that did all four, whereas at least this one we've got it scheduled out over two meetings, so trying to bite off less at each one, so that'll be easier to have more time to discuss as well, right?
Correct. And it's structured in such a way so that stormwater and EMS are first. The EMS rates are pretty straightforward, as we all know. We can shift things around a little bit. The SPU and the water rate, the SPU rate is tied to the water rate, and the King County sewer rate is tied to our rate as well. So there's a little bit of a timing balance that we have to do in terms of we get that information from those agencies. We can certainly shift them around if available. In my experience, it's always tough to do the water rate in September, especially as we're coming out of the peak demand season of summer. So that's usually a better time to do in October, but we can certainly look at doing flip-flopping sewer and storm as we get closer if the board so chooses, because those are, the water and sewer rates tend to be the more larger discussions.
They're the ones that are the most involved and really do require the most analysis. And if it was possible to have sewer in the September meeting rather than stormwater, I think that would be a better split.
Okay, that's good to know.
I didn't mean to monopolize the discussion. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts about the work plan?
Well, I think can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think at the last meeting, we talked about this whole issue of the SPU allocations and the whole reopening of the contract. I don't have a particular idea or ask, and I would, leave it to you, Jason, to kind of figure out, but maybe we want to touch base on what's happening, because I think you indicated that we're in the reopening period. We're going to be, and you may want to touch base with us next year to discuss how that's going in light of sort of some of the previous conversations about, how that might help or hurt our situation with respect to the other participants in the region.
Yep, absolutely. I'm actually meeting with the new general manager of SPU Utilities tomorrow, so I will have a better understanding of timing regarding the SPU wholesale contract. It'll likely come back to the board next year. That might be one of those pieces that we add a special meeting along the way, specific to that topic. But it's going to depend on their timing as well.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and we certainly have time built into the calendar for that. I mean, we generally do not have a meeting in August, but the current work plan is we both March and June have no meetings scheduled. So we certainly have slots for which we could have further discussion about topics.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other discussion about the work plan? No, hearing none. Any other business that should come before the board? Our next meeting, I note, is in February 8th.
I had one quick item. Jason, can you just talk about what happened over the weekend with the water cutover, the shut off? And I mean, just just summarize what transpired, why it happened, and how important it was, that sort of thing.
Sure, absolutely. And actually, Elaine, I'm going to pull up Elaine because she knows it better than I do. But as she pulls up her screen, in a nutshell,
we need to get her in on this conversation. She was just sitting there. So
I really want to get Elaine. Elaine has her hands all over the operational piece. I'll introduce it at a very high level. As the board recalled, SPU came and talked to some of the capital projects that are on the horizon regarding their infrastructure that serves Mercer Island. We have been talking with SPU for a significant amount of time. And I say significant because it's been probably the better part of a year about a required shutdown that they needed to have on the 30-inch pipe that serves Mercer Island so they can make a repair.
right.
And then I'll stop there. I'll pause and I will let Elaine fill you in on the nitty gritty pieces of the detail. Elaine?
Be careful, Elaine. He's throwing you under the bus here.
I'm well aware and also well practiced. Elaine Summergren, Deputy Public Works Director on the operations side. So like Jason said, we have been working on getting this scheduled for a long time. We knew this was a needed repair. SPU needed to do a few bits of preparation in order to get ready for this closure. And in the course of their inspection of the pipe and the various appurtenances, they found out that a key valve on the line was actually had a significant leak. And what this meant was that they couldn't actually perform the original scope of work, and they had to prioritize replacing this valve. So we had the shutdown scheduled, and it actually worked out very well that they were able to jump in and get that valve replaced. It was a little touch and go there for a while, but we're very glad that they were able to do that, get that valve replaced. Unfortunately, what this means is that we now need to schedule for at least one more shutdown in order for them to complete that original scope. That said, I will say our operations team, our utilities team did a fantastic job at working with SPU to really make sure that this had minimal impact on residents and users, and really coordinated very well. We had a staff team on the island from 9 p.m. on Friday night until I believe it was about 8 a.m. maybe the next morning, just to make sure that everything was running smoothly, make sure to monitor our storage and our distribution. And it really went about as smoothly as it could have gone. We've also learned a few lessons in the process, so we will do even better on the second shutdown. The primary impact that I will note on this project was that we did get a little bit of air in one of our mains, which ended up primarily impacting the library. They did have to shut down due to lack of water for, I believe, about half of the day. So we have now identified the source of this issue, and we'll make sure that this will not happen the next time around. So
a couple other pieces I'll just state for the board's edification. We ran extensive water modeling prior to the shutdown. We required the SPU complete this shutdown at this time of year for purpose, so that our demand our demand is low and so that our capacity is high. They asked for a much longer shutdown originally, and we pinched them down into one night on purpose just for our own peace of mind and comfort level based off the water model and our staff resources that we had available. So it was a better part of a year to get to where we are today. It's unfortunate that they have to do a second shutdown. It happens. We have infrastructure that fails all the time. We'll continue to work with SPU on that. I know Elaine and her team are working on what time that looks like, but it's going to be on our terms. What works for us, and you know, it's got to. We have a community that we have to support and provide water for, and we're very strategic and thoughtful about when that happens. And so, I will also say, since the boil water advisory, the board remembers that our data has nearly tripled. Right, we have so much more information at our fingertips. And this is one of those moments where your team has taken that information, they use it in their day-to-day decision making. And so the fact that our crew is monitoring SCADA and they have identified, you know, plans A, B, and C on what could happen and what will happen and how they're going to shift along the way. It was a really cool moment to sort of sit back and just see the knowledge of the utility team that has come together to make this thing happen, because there was quite a bit of coordination on our end. On the back end. So pretty cool moment. We have another one coming down the road. We'll work with SPU on it, but good stuff at the end of the day. The fact that there was nothing major, it's really good news.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
I just want to note, oh,
Go ahead. I'm just curious if the leak was on their side of our demarc point or on our side.
On their side.
It was on their side.
Yay.
Yes. Yeah. So I just want to reassure everyone, we will have plenty of lead time on the next shutdown. We don't expect it will probably happen until likely February or early March, and we'll do the same notification schedule for this one. So at least 3 weeks out for residents. So
Thank you.
know about it well ahead of time.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'm pleased that Board Member Milton dumps straight to Dr. Kubler-Ross's fifth stage of every project, the search for who to blame. Any other comments about the work plan or other issues that should be brought before the board? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a very happy holiday season, and we'll see one another again in February.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.